where we generate the power in karate. Speed is one thing, and it equates to power, I suppose. Same as body mass. If you're a nice heavy person, you're going to generate quite a bit of power. But the power I'm talking to is a principle of karate. It's how we say ki down. We put our energy down so that our body becomes heavy in the middle. And that's another term. Strike from the center, or move from the center. Use the hara, use the hips. Okay, that's easier said than done. And I think a lot of people miss what we mean here. They just think hara, hara, okay, it's somewhere around here. We flex the stomach, whatever. So what we've got to do is put it into easy language to understand. So the easiest way for me to explain this is I refer to a term we use in judo called jigatai. Now jigatai is a standing resistance, or body resistance. Now what happens is you're moving around with the orthodox grip in judo, the person turns in to throw you, and we just lock up here or make our body heavy. And of course, I suppose you would flex the stomach, but it's not just that. It's right around this area. We just make our body heavy. Now, you've probably experienced this. Say you get a naughty child and you try to pick them up and they don't, so they scream and howl and hang loose. They're like a dead weight. They've got natural ki and they're making themselves heavy or ki down. So as we get older, we sort of lose that ability, and we have to retrain, rethink. So ki down is to make our body heavy and therefore more stable by letting the body weight drop. And it's not just into the hips, it's down here, into the thighs and buttocks area here. Okay. Now, I can explain that perhaps in the kata hangetsu. Now, in hangetsu, I'll use the makiwara for this. In hangetsu, we block here by keeping the tension in so that we can really draw that uchuke out. Then the hips rotate. Release. Punch goes in. So once again, uchuke, hips, strike. Now, it's not just here. You can see I'm standing up, and it's a different sort of a punch. It's almost top heavy. So what I've got to do is rock here, turn, and I make this firm. I flex it. So I've got a heaviness about my buttocks and thigh, and of course it transmits up to the hip. But from here, push, and back out. Okay? So, what's another way? Now, a good way to perhaps think about that is do some karazukis, and instead of just punching here, try to drop down as you punch. So you make yourself heavy as you thrust. And you can take that further by dropping and then oizuki. Okay? Dropping, oizuki. Okay? And you're getting this heaviness coming towards the intended target or opponent. So think of that. Jigatai is resisting with this area against being thrown. Ki down is much the same, but we can actually move now in for an oizuki, kata movements here. What's the other one we're using? Hikikomi. That was a good one. Remember we did this a few weeks ago. We were like this. Someone attacks, let's say with Jodan, so we slip back out of his way here, and attack. Okay? Now what I've got to be careful of is that I don't just come here. See the feet? And then go in. See, there's no loading there. I'm not making my body heavy. Key down. So I'll try and do that again. So from here, when I go back to block 1, see I've dropped down. Okay? Here. Okay? 1. Attack. Okay? Key down. So you often see that with, particularly in Japan with groups training, they'll be doing always sit here and they'll drop. Okay? And that's what they're doing. They're calling on all that heaviness in their body to generate that strike power. Okay, I hope that's a little bit helpful. But try it, particularly on the makiwara, because instead of just standing here and punching it, I mean that's doing nothing at all. Might be toughening up the skin on your knuckles, but yeah, that's about it. But by dropping down here, okay, and then as I as I punch, I should say, I drop even lower. Okay, so I'm generating that backside in here. Okay, hope that helps. Okay, I'm not sure that this is going to be the right angle for what I've got in mind, and of course it would be so much better if I had a partner, and I'll try and do a video with a partner involved. But let's see how this goes. Now, in basic sparring, Kihon Kumite, we sort of stand in front of the opponent like this. Now what I'm finding is too many students are actually blocking the attack. Jodan comes in and they literally block or back. Strike here. Well, that's okay, but it tends to put a brake on your Gyakuzuki. Now what I mean by that is you block here, and if that knee is not correctly positioned, see that's the extent of your punch. See, unless you lean forward, you've got no depth or no penetration. So what I try to teach you is, if the Jodan comes in and you've got a very good eye, you just outmaneuver it here. Chudan, outmaneuver it. Now, you outmaneuver it, then block, and then strike in. You see, because that knee can go down better, you've got better penetration. Okay, because I'm not literally being, how do you say, I have the brakes on by blocking. See, blocking is such a terrible way of describing what we're doing here. Uke is to receive, not to block. So I receive the attack of my opponent. He's coming towards me, I taisawaki back, and then block. Strike. Or if it's Chudan here, see, I go back, then block. I don't make the block the prime objective. Here. It's secondary. First, go back. Okay? Go back, block. Go back, block. Okay? And it's good practice to leave your defense until the last split second, so that your opponent can really wind up his attack and you can tune your reflexes so he's almost on you before you move and then counter. Okay, so Kihon Kumite can be quite an art form as well. You've just got to work on it. And of course you need a very good partner. Let's have a look at Hangetsu, the first 3 movements. Uchuke, hips, Uchuke, hips, last time, next, the left wrist comes alongside the right to about the wrist, then we pump, Ippon Ken, pull back, expand the chest, collapse the chest. nukite. Cross, block, cross, block. It's interesting once you know what we're doing there, but that'll come at a later point. Same as the breathing. Remember, from here, we're going to take a short inhale as we come to here. So you've got to quickly take those breaths here, so you can exhale as you do the uchuke, quick intake, and then the seiken goes out. Next part of the kata. Now, I'll do it so that I'm coming towards the camera. So the last thing we did was, remember, we were here, and we cut down to either side. Now, I go in and cut across, block. Hand turns, comes in. Repeat. Now, I slide towards my right, uchuke, and then now, a little bit about this punching. It's pointless if we go too quick, because the whole nature of the kata is slow and meaningful, so that we get it right. So when we do speed up, it's how it should be. Now, let me have a look at that again. Say we're here, we're blocked, taken the wrist, pulled it in. Now, I slide here, block, hip back, and then 1, 2. Not that it might be impressive speed-wise, but it's very hard to get the hips and power to work in this particular kata like that. So try to slow it down. 1, punch, punch. Okay, now the third and final part of that kata is perhaps the most tricky. Now, again, I'll turn so I'm coming towards the camera. Last thing was the dog punch this way. So what I do now is I raise my left arm off the hip and my left leg here. Turn, nikwashi arch. Walk through, because of that arch. I pull this towards me, kick here. Okay, what's happening there? There's many theories, but one is we're coming around to komai. So after doing the delivery punches here, the attempt is made to stamp on my leg with fumokomi. So I lift out of the way here, spin, nikwashi arch. It's just komai. Now the person locks onto my wrist. So I keep the pressure, step, and then I pull him towards me as I kick. Block. Here. And I do that 3 times. On the third one, when I come around here, I drop down for a target. Here. Now I kick my hand because we can get uke and punch. Yeah! Pull back. Block. Now, I've got to have the thigh protecting the groin, so I can't be nikwashi here. I've got to have this here, and the hands extended out to absorb the pressure of a perhaps kingiri kick coming in. Okay, you might ask, where would your vision be? Well, your vision's slightly down, but not to a point where you actually lost peripheral vision. You're staring down at your hand, you kick and punch, then come up. But that's a very dangerous situation. Okay, you're dealing with the opponent that's in front of you, but you don't want to be looking at the ground. So although you can see there, you don't actually lock out your upper vision as well. So now what would it, see from Kamae here, we pose the target, but in actual fact, see he's advancing perhaps with an Oizuki. So what I do is, this goes for his inner knee, and then strikes as he drops. You imagine me coming in, that goes, and you're starting to go, well, or here, in. So, the Mikazuki Geri collapses his knee, the punch goes in. Then, of course, you come straight back, and again, this is almost a Kamae, and then back out. Alright, hopefully that's of some use to you.